Hi everyone, and welcome to The View from North Fulton. I'm Fulton County District 3 Commissioner Liz Hausman. On the show today, my guest is Senator Brandon Beach, who represents District 21, which includes portions of Cherokee and North Fulton counties. As a freshman senator, he has completed his first legislative session and will give us a recap of this session. He serves as a member of 4 committees: the Economic Development Committee, the Government Oversight Committee. He's the Vice Chairman of the Science and Technology Committee and is the Secretary of the Transportation Committee. Senator Beach currently serves as the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Greater North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, leading the 4th largest chamber in the metro area. Senator Beach has played an integral role in helping North Fulton grow and prosper in his 19-plus years in the area. He first served on the Alpharetta City Council. In 2001, Governor Sonny Perdue appointed Senator Beach to the board of the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, also known as GRETA, and he was selected to chair one of GRETA's most important committees, the Land Development Committee. Senator Beach was then elected to the board of the Georgia Department of Transportation by the state legislators from the 6th Congressional District in 2008, serving in that capacity until his election to the Georgia Senate in 2013. Senator Beach has also served as the chairman of the Public-Private Partnership Committee, or P3, while on the GDOT board. Under his leadership, the P3 committee was able to acquire key local transportation projects approved for both Cherokee and North Fulton. Today he's here to talk about the recent legislative session. So stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. With me today on the show is Senator Brandon Beach. Senator Beach, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Commissioner.
Well, we're excited to have you. You have been involved in the community for a very, very long time in a host of different areas, but this is your first session. First session. How did it go?
It went good. You know, by Constitution, all we have to do is pass a budget, and we did that. And we got out on March 28th. Some sessions have went till, April and really into May. So we got out early. We did pass one, I think, important piece of legislation, which was the ethics legislation, which was very important to restore trust in government with the public. And I think we did that. And the numbers are showing that there was less money spent on all kind of activities this session. So it was good news.
Yeah, I read that this weekend in the newspaper. And the governor has constitutionally, 40 days to sign?
40 days. So I think it's May 7th, I think, is the day that he has to sign or veto bills.
And then if he does not sign a bill, it automatically?
It automatically becomes law.
And most take effect?
Most take effect when signed, or sometimes they can go till July 1st.
July 1st, that's
right.
The fiscal year.
Yes.
Right. Well, let's talk about some of the things you were specifically involved with. I know one that got a good bit of attention was Senate Bill 141. Tell us about that.
Well, let me tell you, you and your viewers, I don't think there's anybody watching this show where their premiums on their health insurances went down in the last 5 years. Costs just keep escalating and escalating. And so we're looking at ways to cut cost out of the health system. And one of the things that I learned by serving on a hospital board for the last 6 years is defensive medicine is practiced by doctors. And when I first heard the word defensive medicine, I didn't even know what that was. But what it is doctors, they love to treat patients, they love to serve their patients, but they are scared to death of litigation and lawsuits. So they ask for tests that are unwarranted and unnecessary to cover themselves in case of litigation. So what we want to do is to, instead of going to a trial by jury, we want to set up an independent panel of medical experts and some legal experts and some citizens that would then make those decisions. And very similar to a workman's comp situation. And I think that it'll expedite cases and it will take cost out of medicine. We did a survey, not we, but a company did, called Jackson Healthcare, did a survey back in 2010 with Gallup did a poll, and they're a leading survey organization, and they found that 82% of the doctors in Georgia practice defensive medicine, and that the unnecessary test, when they added it all up, was $13.25 billion in cost.
Annually?
Annually.
Wow.
Just in the year 2010, and $700 million in Medicaid alone. So we think if we can take some of that defensive medicine cost out of the system, it'll help our premiums be reduced. And listen, in no way, shape, or form do we want to not let patients have the right to justice. They will have the right to justice through this medical panel instead of going before a jury and through the court system. This will alleviate some of the pressure from the courts, number one. Number two, if someone is hurt, the research shows that if their case is not a major case, $500,000 or more, an attorney's not going to take it, because the attorney has to do a lot of research and so on. And so if you don't have a high court case, they're not going to take it. And even if they do take it, Commissioner, what we found is it takes 5 to 7 years through the system. By the time all that happens, the average cost, or the average, I should say, payment to the hurt victim is about 17.5%. There's so much money that is spent on court costs, expert witnesses, lawyers, and such. So we think this is good for the taxpayers, it's good for the patients, and it's just good for the overall healthcare system, and we think that's good. And in no way, shape, or form, again, are we anti-attorney. There'll be attorneys, just like in workman's comp, that get to do some of the work in this system. So, but you won't have those $100 million judgments that really skew the system. And so we're going to look at that, and then doctors will want to come here. One of the things that the state of Texas, for example, 5 years ago instituted a tort reform policy or legislation, and they saw doctors in the last 5 years, 30,000 new doctors came to their state. And one of the things we're worried about, and the governor's worried about, is we're losing a lot of our doctors. Once we educate them, then they leave our state. And we need to keep our best and brightest here in Georgia.
So this will allow patients to be tested in areas where they really think that they might have an issue. So they'll still get the care that they need.
They'll get quality care, but when you go talk to doctors, they will tell you if they may need to run 2 tests, they'll run 4 just to cover themselves, to say if something were to happen, we ran the test. So there's a lot of what we call unnecessary wasted money involved in testing that is really just not warranted.
And that piece of legislation, I believe, is going to be studied over the interim.
This is major medical malpractice, healthcare reform. Nobody's done it in the country. And I think we as Georgia need to be the leader, and we need to do something that's innovative and look at cutting our cost. And that's why we're going to take 9 months, study it, and we're going to have everybody sitting around the table, the trial lawyers, the doctors, the medical association. Everybody's going to sit around the table, and we're going to discuss it and look at the good, the bad, and the ugly, and figure out how we can come together and make a bill that's good for all parties involved, but takes healthcare costs down.
Great, great. Shifting gears a little bit, I know you also were involved with legislation with regard to the Fulton County Schools pension system.
Correct. Yes, what we did, that was, I believe that was House Bill 380, and what we did, we just said there has to be some accountability and there has to be some oversight from the Fulton County Board of Education. They need some representation on there. They're paying for it. It's their pension system, and they had no representation. There were some, I don't think there was any criminal wrongdoing, but there were some overpayments, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Well, and they are ultimately responsible for any discrepancies in the payments to
so they're on the hook, so they might as well have some representation. That's the way I felt. Again, this will have nothing to do with change in benefits for the teachers that are on that program. There'll be some accountability and make sure we don't have any mistakes like we had in the past.
Well, it's my understanding that the majority of the teachers are actually in the state retirement system.
Yeah, this is a small amount of teachers that will be affected in this plan anyway. The rest of the teachers are on the new retirement system.
Well, one of the other major issues in our state is transportation. We had a T-SPLOST vote last year, and that did not pass in most regions of the state. You have previous experience on the Georgia Department of Transportation, and you are still concerned about our transit needs and transportation needs.
Yes, and I will tell you, Commissioner, we heard the voters loud and clear. They did not want a T-SPLOST. That being said, our problem didn't go away. we still have a transportation problem. I mean, I think we all saw that during the Final Four.
Right.
When you tried to go down to a concert or to a game, there was a lot of congestion. So we do have a transportation problem, and I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get as much bang for our buck and look at innovative ways to address congestion, whether it be through the synchronization of signals, through new technology of roundabouts and diverging diamond interchanges. We're going to have to look at all kind of different solutions. But the bottom line is we need some more funding for roads and bridges. The other thing we need to do, and I passed a resolution to form a study committee on transit. I think that if we're going to be a world-class region, Commissioner, I don't think we can continue to have a transit system on the backs of two counties. DeKalb and Fulton is basically what we have. We have a very fragmented system. We have DeKalb and Fulton with MARTA. Then we have Gwinnett doing their own thing, Cobb doing their own thing, and then Greta going east and west and north and south. And none of them communicate or coordinate. And I think we need to bring at least those four counties to the table and figure out a way we can all play in the sandbox together and have a coordinated effort. I tell people all the time, Commissioner, if you try to take transit from Kennesaw State to the Gwinnett Arena, you can fly to New York City faster. You can do it, but it's a tough journey. It's not an easy journey because you get on a bus at Kennesaw State, you go down to where the Cobb line ends, you walk 2 blocks, get on a MARTA train, go into Doraville, go into 5 Points, then switch trains, go on the Doraville line, go back up to Gwinnett, walk a block, get on a Gwinnett bus, and then go to the Gwinnett Arena. And none of them talk to each other. None of them communicate. We have to make it somewhat seamless if we're going to have a great transit system, a world-class transit system. And I don't think it's really that hard to bring these entities together. I think they would like to come together, but I think that we need to look at that and figure out a way, again, to make it seamless, go where you want, clean, and most of all, safe. People will take transit if it's safe. Now, I'm not naive enough to think that everybody's going to get out of their cars. I don't think that's going to happen. But if we make it to where it's convenient and where the jobs are, I think people will look at it as an option.
And you're going to study that over the interim session
We
as
are
well?
going to study that, and there again, we're going to get everybody around the table. MARTA, Greta, Cobb, Gwinnett, all the stakeholders are going to be there. And you know, we have a new general manager at MARTA, Mr. Parker, and I've met with him several times. I'm very impressed. He's open to even rebranding and rechanging the name of MARTA. And one of the things I think we ought to do is do that. Very similar to ValueJet to AirTran, I think we need to look at changing MARTA and changing that brand, changing the governance, and making it something else. My idea is I'd like to call it the Atlanta Transit Line, the ATL. That's our brand, Atlanta, ATL. So I think if we could do that and bring everybody into the fold, have one system, one breeze card, everything's communicated and coordinated, and one website, I think we could do some things that could make an impact and hopefully relieve some congestion.
Well, exciting. We have to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back and talk to Senator Beach about how all of these things we just talked about tie into economic development. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are here with Senator Brandon Beach, and we've been discussing the recent legislative session, and now we're going to shift our focus to economic development issues. One of the most exciting things to happen in North Fulton in a long time is the announcement that Gwinnett Tech is going to open a campus in North Fulton. And I know the legislature was key in that. Can you tell us about that?
Well, in last year's session before I was there, but the chamber and you helped a lot also, and thank you for what you do for North Fulton. You've done a great job as our commissioner. But we were able to get $25 million in the budget, and we purchased 25 acres, and now phase 1 is going to be built. And the reason for the Gwinnett Tech is our employers demanded it. And I'm showing my age here a little bit, but when I thought of technical college, I thought of woodworking and small engine repair. It is not that. It is Microsoft Cisco training. It is MRI, healthcare, nursing. It is big-time jobs that pay very good money. And so our, we have 5 hospitals in our footprint at North Fulton Chamber, for example, and these hospitals were demanding nursing. And so we decided to partner with Gwinnett Tech. There wasn't enough money in the budget to start a new technical college, so they were doing satellite campuses. And we said, we don't care what it is. We just want a facility here for our residents and for our employers. And it's a great opportunity for people to get certifications and go out and make $75,000, $80,000 in jobs.
Well, and that location is going to be at Old Milton Highway and 400.
Right across from the new Avalon development, which is another big development, $600 million development, thousands of jobs. And we're actually going to build a new road there called Northwinds. We're going to extend it for the college, and it will tie into Avalon. So that's it's going to be a great investment in our community. Let me tell you something, Commissioner. If there's one thing I've learned in my 10 years at the Chamber and in economic development, education is the foundation for our success.
Absolutely.
K through 12, we are so blessed to have great schools in North Fulton, and the Fulton County Board of Education does an excellent job. Now with the addition of the Gwinnett Tech campus, that's going to do nothing but enhance and be a tool in our toolbox when we're looking and competing with Charlotte and Tampa and Orlando. So that's good. And then, hopefully we're also going to look at a 4-year college, which you're going to play a part in, to help us get a 4-year college in North Fulton. We're the only congressional district in the state that does not have a full 4-year college. So we're going to look at that because we realize education, again, is the key to success. When we are discussing a company coming here, I'll give you an example. General Motors just came, 1,000 new jobs. They came here for one reason. It was between Charlotte and Atlanta. They came here for Georgia Tech. They wanted to take bright minds out of tech and recruit them for their innovation center. Then they decided where they're going to go, and they looked at our K through 12 education for their employees, and that's how they came to Roswell, which was a huge win for North Fulton. And that helps. And then now with Gwinnett Tech, they'll be able to tailor programs to General Motors' needs. So it's a real win for the region.
Well, and they're also taking advantage of the opportunity zone.
Exactly. One of the things that I will tell you is if we're going to continue to compete, you think about this, we have Florida, Tennessee, which border our state, they have no income tax. Then you take Texas, which has no income tax, and those 3 states are doing very well. And economic development is a very competitive business. So one of the things, we do have an income tax, but we have an opportunity zone. And we've currently expanded our opportunity zone, and that's a great tool in the toolbox for economic development. The other thing I think we're going to do legislatively next session, and the governor is all on board, the tier system in Georgia is broke. You have a tier 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it doesn't work. And the other thing that I've learned in economic development, you cannot force a company to go where they don't want to go. You just can't do it. I don't care what you give them. They want to be where the schools are, where the transportation corridors are, near the airport. There are certain things they are looking for, or they want the fiber optics in the ground or the technology. So you can't force them to go in different places that they don't want to go. So we're very fortunate that we have all the infrastructure in place. And so we'll continue, hopefully, to be successful.
Well, you're on the Economic Development Committee.
Yes.
And you mentioned the tier system. I'm not sure if everyone understands what that means.
Well, certain areas based on population have certain tiers. And, I'll give you an example. The previous governor wanted a company to go to Fitzgerald, Georgia. And there's nothing wrong with Fitzgerald, Georgia, but again, they didn't want to be in Fitzgerald. They wanted to be up in North Fulton, in that area where we live. And they gave them a lot of incentives to go to Fitzgerald, but they didn't want to go there. And consequently, we lost that company, 1,200 pharmaceutical jobs, to Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. And it was because they were trying to push that incentive in the tier system, and which is a much more advantageous than our tax incentives in our tier system. But you can't make them go where they don't want to go. So we think the opportunity zone is the way to go. And if we could expand that throughout the state, we think that's a great tool in our toolbox, because it's a $3,500 right off the payroll for every new incremental job created. So it's a payroll tax, and it's good for 5 years. So that means a lot of money to different companies.
Well, I can tell how passionate you are about bringing good jobs to our state.
Well, we need to. I will just tell you this, Commissioner. When I first took the chamber job 10 years ago, I may have gotten 2 or 3 calls a year for people saying, you know, my son needs a job, my daughter, my wife got laid off. I get 2 or 3 calls a week, and I'm not in the staffing business. I'm just a Chamber of Commerce that knows where the jobs are, or hears of jobs coming. So that tells me people are really hungry to work, and we need to hopefully find these people jobs. You know, I want my kids to be able to come back to North Fulton, find a job, raise their family, play in the parks that they played in, have their kids play in those parks, and it would just be pretty neat for that to happen. So, you know, we have to make sure we have those opportunities for our kids, and we have all the assets. So we just got to continue to fight for jobs. But it's a very competitive business.
It sure is, and I know that one of the other pieces of legislation this year expanded the HOPE eligibility for some of our students. Tell us about that.
And that's for Gwinnett Tech.
Or technical education.
Technical education. We did that because one of the things is our technical colleges needed that, and we want to direct kids that don't want to go to college to the technical colleges. Or really, it's not so much the kids not wanting to go to college. There's a lot of 40-year-olds that need to be retrained.
Absolutely.
And so we need to be able to help them get their retraining and get them back in the workforce in a job that they're trained to do. So we're working with that, and that's a smart move. And one of the things just like I said on the doctors, we don't want our kids leaving the state and not coming back. We want to be able to have our kids. We don't want to lose them in the first place, but if they do go out of state to college, we want to be able to have them come back, and we want to try to keep our best and brightest here.
And I believe the governor's already signed that expansion of HOPE, so that's in effect now?
Yes, and that's one of the laws that didn't have to wait till July 1st. He went ahead and signed that right away. There are a few things he signed right away, and in the bill we said make applicable as soon as the governor's signature is signed. So.
Well, sounds like you've been really busy, but what do you hope to accomplish next year?
Well, I want to look at that tier system. We really want to look at expanding the opportunities. And what I would like to do, if I had my way, but it's you have to have a fiscal note to pass this, and I don't know that financially it may be too much at once. But I'd like to make the whole state an opportunity zone for 2 years, and just put an ad in the USA Today and say the state of Georgia is open for business. Come to Georgia, and target New York, New Jersey, California. You look at California, for example, they have a 13.5% income tax.
Wow.
So I think, and the cost of living out there is so expensive. You know, you take, for example, we have a company in North Fulton, McKesson. They're based in Palo Alto or San Francisco area. They have more employees here than they do in their headquarters, because what happens is when their employees come here, they get more house for their money, they get great schools, great quality of life. They don't want to go back. They want to stay. So once we get them here, we have a good chance of keeping them here. So I think we should expand the Opportunity Zone for just 2 years. Incremental business, bring in new jobs, and get that unemployment rate down from 8.5% down to 4 or 5% or below. You know, we're blessed in North Fulton. Our unemployment's about 6.1, 6.2%, but we got to look at it statewide. Now, I will tell you, I think the Port of Savannah, it's an economic engine, and when that is dredged and we start taking those super cargo containers, that's going to help us, because we are the logistics capital of the Southeast, Atlanta. So we feel good about that.
Very exciting. We could talk a long time, especially as passionate as you are, and with your experience with economic issues. I know you are very, very well versed to help us in our state expand our employment needs. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with my closing thoughts, so don't go away. Serving the public as an elected official is important and challenging work, especially in our current economic climate. You've heard today about the effort to promote both our state and Fulton County's economy, help broaden the tax base, and work with businesses to provide employment to bring about a strong recovery. Senator Beach's focus on bringing in quality higher education opportunities are to be commended. As Fulton County propels itself into the future, let's remember that we can all play a role in driving this county towards prosperity by reaching out to our elected officials and asking what you can do to help your community. That's my view. What's yours? Please feel free to contact my District 3 office at 404-612-8213, or you can email me at liz.houseman@fultoncountyga.gov.